Hello students, we shall study paper 8th A part 1st, that is the laser fundamentals. As you are watching here, laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. हिंदी में कहें तो लेजर एक कला संबद्ध, एक वर्णी, एक दिशा तीव्र प्रकाश स्रोत है. It is actually an acronym for laser, LASER. First of all, we get to know that what are the energy levels. You see that in any atom or molecule or ion, we know that the energy levels are discrete. One is the ground state and one is the excited state, and many excited states are possible, but the ground state is the lowest possible state. Excited states, they are the higher energy levels, you know, but you also know the fact that as the energy levels increase, the separation between them becomes less and less. For example, here see, there is a ground state, first excited state, second excited state, and so on. When we move upwards, the energy levels are separated very close together, close enough, and that we call a continuum. As the energy of the excited state increases, the separation between the adjacent levels becomes smaller and smaller. Further, the separation becomes so small that the energy levels appear continuous. The continuous spread of energy is called the continuum. Now, what is the absorption? You see, when a photon of energy h nu, of frequency nu, falls on an atom, as depicted, you see the electron jumps from the ground state to one of the excited states. Here we call it EI, the initial level, and EF, the final energy level, and it is the incident photon. Absorption can only occur when the frequency of the incident radiation nu is equal to the difference between the energy levels by the Planck's constant divided by the Planck's constant. This much must be the value of the frequency of the radiation. This we may call an interaction of radiation with matter. Now what happens? The absorption is solely in presence of a radiation or a photon, we can say, on one side. However, we have also studied the emission. In spontaneous emission, what happens? Atoms which are in excited state are not in thermal equilibrium with their surroundings, so they finally return to the ground state by emitting a photon. Now this process is generally of the order of the atom remains in the excited state for a time of the order of 10 raised to power minus 8 seconds only. Here we see an example in which E star is the energy of the excited state. That means one of the levels and E is the lower lying state, that is the ground state, and the frequency of the emitted photon nu is equals to E star minus E by H. So this process is spontaneous. Why? Because it cannot sustain the inequilibrium, so naturally it comes to the ground state. So this process in this process the transition may take place from one of the excited states to the ground state, emitting that much amount of photon of frequency of that much amount. Now there is also possible one of the other phenomenon which is called stimulated emission, and it was found in 1917 by the great scientist Einstein. Einstein says under certain conditions emission of light may be stimulated by radiation incident on an excited atom. Up till then it was realized that only spontaneous emission can take place. You see that absorption is, we say it absorption, but really absorption is stimulated only, we can understand it, but the emission, up till then it was known that emission is spontaneous. Okay, but Einstein told that the emission can also take place under some stimulation. हिंदी में कहें तो उद्दीपित उत्सर्जन. Under certain conditions emission of light may be stimulated by radiation incident on an excited atom. When an electron is in the excited state E star and a photon whose energy is nu, you see the photon is incoming with this much frequency, it interacts with the excited atom and the electron makes transition downwards, and in that process it emits a photon of that much frequency which depends on the difference of the energy levels. Emitted photon travels in the same direction as that of the incident photon. This is the important thing. You see, both incident photon and emitted photon, they are perfectly in phase when two waves travel in the same direction with constant phase relationship. They are called coherent, and this is the basis for the laser. Next, in 1958, two scientists, Charles Townes and Arthur Chaplow, they demonstrated stimulated emission process. By then it was only theoretical, and in only 1958, after so many years, they demonstrated the process. Also, stimulated emission can be amplified to produce a practical source of light. They realized it, and the light can travel long distances without much spread. So what they hypothesized, that the radiation can be amplified, and therefore the name laser light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So this was their conception. They thought that one photon is incident, then after interaction one photon is the incident photon and one is the photon which makes downward transition that is emitted by the process of downward transition of electron, and then both interact with a new atom, new excited atom, and the process goes on, and they termed it as amplification. But there were conceptual difficulties with that, because you know that when an atom is excited, it remains there for a very short duration of time. Electrons remain in an excited state for this much short duration. So practical difficulty was that to keep all those atoms in excited state till they are stimulated to emit a photon was a great difficulty. Secondly, more possibility of de-excitation of an excited atom spontaneously is there. Now, because this process of excitation is for a very short duration of time, the probability of de-excitation of atom is much more. One of the difficulties was that. Secondly, photons released through spontaneous processes are emitted in random directions. Now, it was hypothesized, although, but the fact is that during this process, because the different atoms, they make transitions at different times, and the photons travel along different directions, and of course matter is there along three dimensions. The emitted photons are not confined to one direction. That means they are not coherent. One of the more practical difficulties was that generally atoms they make transitions to ground state, but as they make transitions to ground state, they are absorbed, the radiation is absorbed by other atoms. So these were the practical difficulties in realizing this thing. So there was a second theory, and that made a good impact. How? Actually, Max Planck, as you have read in the theory of radiation, that Max Planck, after the black body radiation theory and experiments, and the experiments of Rayleigh-Jeans and Wiens and such scientists, you know that Rayleigh-Jeans radiation law, it resulted in an ultraviolet catastrophe, UV catastrophe, where in a higher frequency region the theory of Rayleigh and Jeans did not match the experiments. So Max Planck presented his one theory which was based on the Planck's oscillators, hypothesis of Planck's oscillators, and those oscillators were called quanta. As we very well, even a school boy knows what is a quanta. Quanta, they are oscillating Oscillating atoms could absorb energy in very small bursts called quanta. And Planck presented his genius formula UV/dV is equals to 8 pi h nu cubed by c cube 1 over e raised to h nu by kt minus 1, which is known as the Planck's radiation formula. Of course, there must be a d nu also. Now, side by side, Albert Einstein, he made his own propositions by presenting the theory of absorption and emission. As I told, that the absorption depends only on the probability of absorption depends only on the frequency of the incident radiation, energy density of the interacting radiation at frequency nu, and the number of atoms present there. And of course, it is an stimulated process, and B is the Einstein coefficient for absorption from lower to higher level, from ground state to excited level. Now, Einstein told that emission, the probability of emission depends on two things. One is the spontaneous part. That means when atoms make transition from excited to ground state, the probability depends only on the number of atoms present at that level. Secondly, he also speculated and hypothesized that there is one more process possible, that is the stimulated emission. The probability, this downward probability depends on two factors. One is the energy density of the incident radiation and the number of atoms present over there. So this is the stimulated. Now you know that it is similar to the absorption from upward, just like upward process. This is the downward process. So the constant he told V21. Now the statistical mechanics says that during equilibrium, the two processes of upward and downward transitions must have the same probability, and therefore equating both, we readily obtain the energy density equal to A21 N2 divided by B12 N1 minus B21 N2, and if I divide by B21 N2, I obtain this equation. Okay, so we obtain this equation. Now the statistical mechanics, that means Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, says that n is proportional to e raised to minus h nu by kt, and if we have where h nu is the difference between the energy levels, and this is the actual equation. N2 by N1 is equals to G2 by G1 e raised to minus h nu by kt, where G1 and G2 are the multiplicities of levels. Now this happens because the energy levels may be degenerate. Degenerate means two or more levels may have the same energy. Now you see that if the incident radiation is such that the frequency is much larger than kt, large energy gap, then very few atoms will be in the upper energy state. That we can realize from this exponential function. So so naturally N2 will be less than N1. Okay. So substituting this from the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution in this equation, we obtain here this thing, and on comparison with the Planck's constant, Planck's radiation law, here we see that this factor must become 1, and therefore if I compare, this must be 1. So A21 by B21 must be 8 pi h nu cube by c cube, and this factor must be equal to 1. So I get B21 by B12 is equals to G1 by G2. That means the ratio of the multiplicities. Now if the multiplicities are same, that means no levels exist with same levels, same energies, then the multiplicity, then there is no degeneracy. And in the absence of degeneracy, you see the Einstein coefficients B are same. So in nutshell we can say that B is for emission and A is for absorption. Now there remain 2 only, in as far as there is absence of degeneracy. So if I calculate the probability of transition, then the probability of stimulated transition is equal to the probability of absorption when there is an equilibrium. So easily we obtain by equating them from using these equations here, this equation as well as this equation, as well as this equation. I have substituted for A12 A and B12 equal to B21 equal to B. So A by B probability of spontaneous transition by stimulated transition is equals to A N2 by B U N2, and cancelling out N2 and substituting the value of A by B, we obtain A by B mu, that means W spontaneous by W stimulated equal to e raised to h mu by kt minus 1. Now this is one of the most important equations. So this forms the mathematical foundation of the laser. Now in next lecture we shall discuss about some of the key terms which you might have heard about laser, and in the lecture next to that we shall study a brief history of laser. Till then, bye. Thank you very much.